great to have you with us today and welcome into the show.
Thanks for having me today.
Look, let's kick it off, and obviously a very, very successful AFL career. What actually made you decide to sort of switch into real estate investing and now developing?
Yeah, during my football days I was always interested in property and developing, and during my time playing football I did a business degree in finance and economics, and then went on to do a building construction diploma in Cert 4. So I'm now working full-time in the building game with a commercial company called Built, which is really good. And then in my spare time or my time away from work, I like to delve into the property world of investing and looking at small developments and that sort of thing. So it really excites me, property, and yeah, I really enjoy doing it.
It's interesting, this transformation that you've undergone. Weak at the knees isn't going to be your thing now in the tough world of property investment, mate. Tell us about your first investment that you got into.
Yeah, so I'm originally from South Australia, so my first investment was close to home. It was an older property on a big block of land in Clarence Park in Adelaide. So it was a pretty run-down property. I bought it at auction, I think it was about 6 years ago, and it needed a new kitchen and just some basic things done to it with carpets and curtains and light fittings and good clean-up. So I did a small reno on that one, and that was my introduction to property.
Yeah, so I'm sure you probably learned a lot as well from that experience. How do you think that first investment kind of influenced some of your future investment decisions?
Yeah, I mean, when I bought my first property, I probably went in pretty green, and I thought I'd learn a bit, but I didn't know too much. So the first one was a great one, just to sort of get your teeth stuck into it, and go through the whole process of getting finance and speaking to mortgage brokers, speaking to real estate agents, learning how to research a property and go to all the opens and then on the auction day, and then go through the whole process of working at it with a real estate agent, leasing it out, and doing a renovation with a builder and that side of things. So it was a really good learning property to start off on, and that sort of I guess built my hunger to sort of find other properties that you can add value to and create from there.
I loved how you said you were pretty green at the first time. It came up straight as the big shot of that massive backyard with the green lawn. I'm sure you didn't buy that property just so you could kick a footy in the background. Where are you at now with your investment journey since you've gone on with this one, Jonathan?
Yeah, so I've undertaken a couple small renovations like the one in Adelaide, and I've done a couple small little developments. I started off with doing like a battle axe hammerhead division, and then went on to do a corner block subdivision. So I'm looking at all those sort of opportunities now. So properties that you can look to add value to by developing. So small developments is where I'm sort of looking at, and trying to build my appetite and experience and knowledge to not go big, but just to slowly increase each time and do a bigger development, and I guess just learn and get the experience under my belt to to go on to bigger and better things with it.
Yeah, so speaking of learning, obviously a lot that's been done through your career, and quite a very different career, I guess, moving from AFL into real estate investing and renovating and so forth. Do you think that you've been able to draw on any of your experience in AFL and whether that's kind of helped you succeed as a property investor?
Yeah, I mean, AFL, that's where I spent my last 12 years of my life, and AFL's been great for me, and it's taught me a lot of life lessons and life skills, which you take into property investing. I guess one of the biggest lessons and things that footy teaches you is hard work and persistence and setting goals for yourself and trying to achieve those things. So in property investing, it all relates to you got to work really hard, and you got to do the work and the research to find the right properties, and talk to lots of people and put in the time and effort to build relationships. So a lot of the football things you learn in football can correlate to many life skills, but in particular property investing and talking to people in that way.
You started out in your journey, I think you said 6 years ago was your first property, if I'm correct, Jonathan. If you're starting now, what would you advise for people on them? The market has changed since those 6 years. What would you be your strategy now, and what is your strategy at the moment?
Yeah, I think a good strategy for people starting out is obviously to be educated and to research and learn about property. So obviously to get started, you need to know about it. So I recommend listening to podcasts, blogs, reading magazines, watching shows like this one.
Perfect plug.
Talking to people that have done it before you and know a lot more than you. And then in terms of investment, an investment strategy would be to start basic and to start small. So buy your first property and look for a property where you can add value to, and it's got good fundamentals. So it might be a property close to the CBD, one of the major cities in Australia, and it might be a small renovation or one that you can just add value to, and then go on to your next one and slowly, if you want to increase your risk appetite or in terms of what you want to do, but start out slow and get to know what you're doing, and then build on your experience and knowledge from there.
Look, the property market for many has been a little bit tough recently. Yes, obviously you have the pockets of opportunity. Certainly in Sydney and Melbourne, though, it's been pretty tough. And I guess investors and property owners, it's a bit scary, I suppose, when you start seeing those property values coming down. In a market like we are seeing at the moment, how do you think we can avoid losing money?
Yeah, it's a tough one, and especially with all the headlines and the media and social media, you get a lot of headlines. Doom or gloom, or it could be the boom time. So you can't really you can read the articles, but don't get sucked into what those sort of articles might be saying. Do your research and get the facts. But I think one thing in property investing will always stay true is that try to buy properties that are always going to have strong demand. So those sort of properties have look for good fundamentals. So I always look for properties that are close to the CBD in that inner to medium sort of ring. So anywhere from 2k to sort of 15k's out from the city is ideal, and then always play the long game. So sure, in property you can flip properties and get some short-term wins, but I always look for the long term in terms of holding property for at least a couple cycles. So that could be at least 7, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years down the track. And I think if you play the long game, you should do well, I think.
Jonathan, just finally, I'd like to, we like local knowledge on this show. I mean, we're a vast country, we all seem to live on the outskirts of it. You've moved to Melbourne, but you did come from Perth. What's your little crystal ball telling you where people should be investing in Perth, in your old stomping ground?
Yeah, so Perth's obviously been, it's going through a recovery, and it's been bottoming out for the last few years. So it's come off, obviously, the days of the mining boom. But, there's some really good signs there with Perth that it's recovering. I'm, reading some stats where the days on market are decreasing, and vacancy rates for the rental market is I think it's as low as it's been since 2014. So there's some real positive signs there that the market's bottoming out. It's on the improve, and there's lots of positive news about the economy with the mining picking up and sort of employment sort of starting to find its feet again. So there's lots of positive news and outlook for Perth, but it has been through a bit of a recovery period, which is just like a normal cycle. You get your periods where it increases and booms, and times when it's in a bit of a low and in a recovery phase.